evidence presented in court, and therefore the following findings are made. You may stand up, accused 1 and 2. Accused 1, in respect of counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you are found guilty as charged. Accused 2, Mr. Snyman, in respect of counts 4 and 6, you are found not guilty and discharged.
Julius Malema has been found guilty by Magistrate Toinette Olivier for unlawfully firing a rifle in public during the 2018 EFF rally. Did you know he could be jailed for 15 years? In a courtroom in East London, the political landscape of South Africa has been fundamentally altered. Magistrate Toinette Olivier has found economic freedom fighters leader Julius Malema guilty of discharging a firearm in public, a moment 7 years in the making. This isn't just a legal verdict. It's a seismic event that strikes at the heart of power, accountability, and the very nature of political leadership in a nation still grappling with its complex past. For viewers just catching up with this story, the roots of this judgment stretch back to a sweltering day in July 2018. The scene was the Syed Dukash Stadium in Dantsane, Eastern Cape, packed with thousands of cheering supporters for the EFF's 5th anniversary celebration. Amid the fervent political speeches, a moment was captured on video that would ignite a legal battle lasting years. Julius Malema, the firebrand opposition leader, was handed a rifle by his then bodyguard, Adriaan Snyman. He raised the weapon and, in front of a crowd of 20,000 people, fired multiple shots into the air. The crackle of gunfire was met with roaring applause, but that single act would eventually lead him to the defendant's chair, facing charges that carry a maximum prison sentence of 15 years. So, what exactly was Julius Malema found guilty of? The verdict was not for a single offense, but for a cascade of failures and reckless actions. Magistrate Olivier found him guilty of contravening the Firearms Control Act. This includes the unlawful possession of a firearm and the unlawful possession of ammunition. Furthermore, he was convicted of discharging it in a public space, of failing to lock it away in a prescribed facility, and of failing to take reasonable steps to ensure its safekeeping. The legal framework painted a picture of profound negligence, a stark contrast to the image of control he projected on that stage. But to understand the true weight of this moment, you must understand the man at the center of the storm. Julius Malema is not just another politician. He is a phenomenon. He is the charismatic, controversial, and often chaotic force behind the Economic Freedom Fighters, a party built on the promise of radical economic transformation, land expropriation without compensation, and a fierce opposition to the ruling African National Congress. To his millions of supporters, he is a revolutionary, a champion of the poor and the marginalized. To his detractors, he is a dangerous populist who trades in inflammatory rhetoric. This case forced these two conflicting images to collide in a courtroom. The defense argued that the rifle in question was a licensed firearm belonging to his bodyguard, Adriaan Snyman, and that Malema was merely acting as a competent handler in that moment. They claimed the event was a symbolic act, a political theater meant to energize the base. But the magistrate saw through this. The court found that Malema had no license for that firearm himself, and that no amount of political symbolism could excuse the blatant illegality of the act. This raises a painful question. Are our political leaders above the very laws they are sworn to uphold? Let's be clear about the scene. This was not a remote hunting ground or a secured shooting range. This was a packed sports stadium, a place where families and children had gathered. The reckless discharge of a high-powered weapon in such an environment created an undeniable risk. Can you imagine the panic that could have erupted? The potential for a tragic accident? The sound of those shots may have been celebratory for some, but for others, it was a terrifying echo of the violence that plagues so many South African communities. And this is where the story stops being just about Julius Malema and starts being about every single South African. In a country with staggeringly high rates of violent crime, where ordinary citizens live in fear behind high walls and electric fences, what message does it send when a prominent leader treats a firearm with such cavalier disregard? For the mother in Khayelitsha who fears for her children's safety, or the shop owner in Joburg who has been robbed at gunpoint, the sight of a politician firing a weapon for applause is not just irresponsible, It is a deep and profound insult. The public reaction has been as divided as the nation itself. On social media and in the streets, Malema's supporters have decried the judgment as a political witch hunt. They argue that the state is weaponizing the courts to silence its most potent political opponent. They point to the long, 7-year delay as evidence of a manufactured case designed to derail his career. The hashtags #IStandWithJulius and #HandsOffMalema began trending within minutes of the verdict, a digital wall of defiance. But there is another side, a chorus of voices asking, simply, about the rule of law. Commentators, civil society organizations, and ordinary citizens are asking if any other South citizen would have been afforded 7 years of legal process for such a clear-cut offense. Would you or I be treated with the same patience? This case forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality of a two-tiered justice system where the powerful and connected seem to operate by a different set of rules. The political consequences are immense and will ripple through the coming years. The EFF is a party built around the cult of personality of its leader. A conviction, and the potential of a prison sentence that hangs in the balance, threatens to cripple the party's momentum. How does a movement centered on a revolutionary figure function when that figure is potentially behind bars? The opposition landscape could be reshaped overnight, leaving a vacuum that could either strengthen the ruling ANC or fragment the opposition further. Think about the timing. South Africa is a young democracy, still finding its feet. Every time a leader is held accountable by the courts, it is a test of our constitutional integrity. And every time a leader flouts the law, it erodes public trust just a little bit more. This judgment is not merely about a firearm. It is a stress test on the very foundations of our democracy. Do our institutions have the strength to hold the powerful to account, no matter how loud their supporters cheer? Now we wait for the sentencing. The court has ordered a pre-sentencing report from a correctional services officer, a process that will examine Malema's personal circumstances and the circumstances of the offense. This introduces a fascinating human element into the cold machinery of justice. The magistrate must now weigh a multitude of factors. Should the sentence be one of direct imprisonment, sending the ultimate message of deterrence? Or would a non-custodial sentence, such as a fine or correctional supervision, be deemed sufficient? For those who have followed Julius Malema's tumultuous career, from his rise in the ANC Youth League to his formation of the EFF, this moment feels both inevitable and shocking. This is a story that matters. It is a real-time lesson in law, power, and accountability. If this narrative has gripped you, if it has made you think and feel, then we urge you to become part of this conversation. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe the judgment was fair? What sentence do you think fits the crime? Let your voice be heard. If you believe in stories that peel back the layers of power, then like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the events that shape our world. The story isn't over. The next chapter is being written right now.